All of this will be capped off by a 37-game Stanley Cup playoff schedule, giving you hockey fans a chance to follow the NHL without ever changing the channel from home team sports. All of the best plays, all of the great players, all of the NHL's action here, but only here on the channel you cheer for, Home Team Sports.
I know Merchants Tire and Auto Centers have all the famous brand tires at guaranteed lowest prices, but I didn't know they do repairs too. Everything from oil changes to tune-ups and brakes. And best of all, Merchants treats my car like it's their own. And only Merchants has these written guarantees. So I guess I go to Merchants because I trust them.
Service that you trust. Guaranteed.
Merchants Tire and Auto Centers.
In the Tidewater area, you know the Henry Johnson Tire and Auto Centers.
And in Durham, you know the Rigsby Tire and Auto Centers.
Well, they're all part of the Merchants Group,
where you can get service that you trust. Guaranteed.
Michael Pavanka, Washington Capitals. Power play.
In business, it's survival of the fittest.
George & Company, Big and Tall Men's Shops. The best fit.
Corner by Hextall. Now Prompt flips to the blue line. Kept in by Hatcher. Slap shot, and it goes!
And we're back here on Home Team Sports. An exciting 20 minutes of hockey into the books. The Capitals with a well-deserved 2-0 first period lead on goals by Gustafsson and Francis Getty. Welcome back, Jeff Rimmer with us. With you, along with David Poyle, Caps Vice President and General Manager. David, outstanding period from the Washington Capitals' perspective, that first 20.
Yeah, well, sure is nice to have a 2-0 lead. It's been a long time since that has happened for the Capitals, but you know, they worked really hard that period. We sure had a lot of good chances and finally broke through in a couple of goals. It's nice to see someone like Louis Francis Getty that, you know, I must admit was more or less written off by the organization, and I take responsibility for that. He worked really hard down in Baltimore, and he's come back and played real well. Not only has he got all the hits that I think Louis has been famous for with Capitals fans, but he's chipped in with the odd goal like he has tonight, and that's I'm very happy for him.
David, if you look at Francis Getty coming up and playing so well and consistently, something maybe he didn't do earlier on with the Washington Capitals last season and maybe in seasons before. You look at Pavanka yesterday, the subject of a story in the Washington Post, his consistent play, his more involved play in Baltimore. Might we see Capitals who are struggling, going and playing in the minors to maybe regain their form?
Well, it certainly is, you know, something I have to think about. Again, we use big words like loyalty to the players that have played well for you over, you know, a long period of time, number of years. But there's obviously a shock benefit of nothing else. Maybe it hurts your ego or what have you to go down to the minors, and you know, maybe that's an area that we have to look at with some of the players that you know, are struggling or get into slumps or what have you. I'd like to think that's not necessary for the majority of our players, but it certainly might be the answer. And again, with this Baltimore situation, seems to be working out so well for us, and we're so close here. It's really not that dramatic of a change. So certainly with, you know, Louis' success, and we'll see what happens with Michael Pavanka in the next couple of weeks, and give that some good thought.
301-350-7852 is the number. Any questions or comments for the Caps general manager? David, we had Doug Riseborough on in a pregame show talking in terms of something you and I have discussed here at length, and that is parity in the National Hockey League. No team really dominating, and on any given night, a team and a quality team could lose to one of the third or fourth, or maybe even teams that aren't even in the playoff hunt right now as early as the season is.
Except for maybe Doug Riseborough's team. I watched them play last night against New Jersey, and they sure looked good. There's no question, though, again, I know it seems like we talk about this quite a bit, but every game seems to be it's like a life or death struggle, and that's not as comfortable as we'd like it to be. You know, coming back from our managers meeting last week, you know, your 21-team league, you think it would be that at least half the people would be happy, but everybody seemed to be, you know, fairly uptight and concerned about their team. And again, you look at this Patrick division, and outside of the Rangers, there's nobody that's you know, running away with it. So there's a lot of chances here, but you got to show up to play every night, and you really got to compete, because it's going to be close all year long, and it's going to be a struggle. And this is why, you know, with our team again tonight, and I referred to this the last game, it's nice to be up by 2 goals, but we haven't won anything yet. I mean, we've got to play just as good and just as hard the second and third period, or Hartford could turn this thing around.
Let's go to the phone lines. 301-350-7852. Our first caller, and welcome. You're on Home Team Sports. Hello, Vernon.
Yes, David. I'm calling. Do you have any possibilities of trading for some goaltender? It just seemed like to me. I don't have nothing against Peters, but he just seemed like to me he just is not the answer. And also, it just seems like to me Langley is starting to slip a little bit. And I just like the way Phil Esposito is doing with the Rangers. The Capitals are getting old, and it seems like to me you're too conservative or something.
Well, that's fine. As far as the goaltending, again, and right last year I thought our goaltending was pretty well as good as anyone in the National Hockey League. Again, when a team wins or loses, sometimes we give too much credit for goaltender when we win, and on the other hand, probably sometimes we give too much of the blame to the goaltender. But I think both Clint and Pete have struggled in the early part of this season. Right now, Clint has the net, and he's been playing quite a few consecutive games due to Pete's injury. But again, they're both very experienced goaltenders. Both have proved to be very capable, and I think we got good goaltending here in Washington. As far as
are you too conservative, the general manager?
Well, that might be the case. Again, we talked about loyalty or what have you. I mean, we've made our fair share of trades since I've been here. Again, when things go bad, I guess that's the area that you look at first. Somebody like Bill Torrey with the Islanders has been very conservative and very patient, and has almost built our entire team through the draft. I think running an organization, you got to look at both situations, and maybe it's a little middle of the road.
All right, for the record, Bill Torrey, since he became general manager of the New York Islanders, has made something like 36 trades. Esposito's made that many since he was general manager, and of course, wasn't too long ago he was up in the broadcast booth. So there are pros and cons to both, and if you look at the New York press on a daily basis, they're comparing those two general managers, and some are for the Esposito type, while others maybe consider Phil making too many changes from time to time. Silver Spring, Maryland, and Ken, you're on Home Team Sports.
Yeah, hi, David. My question goes to the other side. And with the trouble scoring that the Capitals have been having lately, I'd like you to clear up a rumor I heard about possible trade with L.A. this summer. Clint Malarchuk for Bernie Nichols. Is there any truth to that, or is that still an opportunity, or how's that shaping up?
Well, they had talked to us just prior to training camp when they felt that their need was goaltending, and both of our goaltenders were mentioned at that time, and also the name of Bernie Nichols, but that certainly didn't take place. And again, I see right now Bernie Nichols is the second leading scorer in the league with 21 goals, so I think LA is happy. You got to realize that teams change from, almost seems like from game to game here, whether you win or lose. So you're going to read about a lot of rumors. Probably about 85% of them are fiction.
All right, Bob from North Washington. You're on Home Team Sports.
Yes, we know how we rate players and coaches' performances. I was wondering how you rate a general manager's performance, and how would Dave rate his own performance?
Tough questions tonight.
Well, the bottom line for anybody, whether it be a player, a coach, or a manager, is whether you win. When I got the job here, we were a non-playoff team, and that was sort of the mandate, is to get the club into the playoffs and get them to be competitive. And we certainly have done that. I've been very proud of the success we've had here, but the next hurdle that we have, and where we all got to move as an organization, is to have a little more success in the playoffs, and that is our goal right now.
Hockey people continue to marvel that David Poyle joins us each and every first intermission here on Home Team Sports telecast with questions like that. He always comes back, and he'll be back on our next HTS telecast. We'll be back with second period action upcoming. David, thank you for the visit. Stay tuned. The Caps ahead by 2.
Did you replace those tie rods? Okay, check the bushings and the sway bars, too. See all you need? That's it. Great, I'll get you a belt. How those brakes look?
They're bad all the way
Put new ones on. Check those rotors, too.
We're going to have to replace this.
No problem, sir. We just finished it.
Amoco. If you know us, you already know a good mechanic. At Certicare.
You're all set.
Certicare at Amoco. Your car knows.
You know, Thrifty Car Rental was thrifty price for everyone.
While hammering, this is a good deal. Sign it.
It's enough or you can't refuse.
Sign it.
Why don't you get a larger car to entertain friends?
Now I'll sign it.
Rent a Dodge Dynasty from just $24.99 a day on weekends at any of the 24 thrifty metro area locations.
Go ahead, make my reservation. It's simple. Call 1-800 for cars.
Tudor by Rolex. Wear time in armor, style in action. Tudor Prince Oyster Date is forged to perform like the Tudor Princess Oyster Date in royal games and rugged sports. Tudor Prince Date Day gives your time the temper of excellence. Tudor by Rolex at Fleischer's Jewelers of Maryland in the Queens Chillum Shopping Center in Hyattsville.
Your participating Toyota dealer announces Grand Rebate 88, a big $1,000 direct distributor rebate at participating dealers on every new 88 Toyota in stock. Make your best deal, then get a $1,000 cash rebate on every new 88 Camry, Corolla, Tercel, and tough Toyota truck. Apply it to your purchase or keep a cool grand in your hand. See your participating Toyota dealer while you still have time. When the 88s are gone, so is the cash.
Capitals game coverage on Home Team Sports is brought to you by Hardee's. We're out to win you over. The Capitals have built a 2-0 lead after one period of play here at the Capitol Center tonight. They're playing against the Hartford Whalers, and Washington's early lead hopefully will keep them going on the way to picking up two very important points out of this building tonight. Mike Forange, your host, back along with Al Koken. The Whalers fell behind 4-0 the other night to Detroit and wound up coming back in the third period and made it a very close game, 4-3, the final score. The Whalers started out by doing much of the hitting in the first period of play. They just sure didn't get many shots or much scoring, none.
No, and also remember the Capitals jumped ahead of Minnesota 2-0 the other night before the North Stars came back to tie it, so I'm sure right now the Capitals are telling themselves, make sure we get the next goal. Don't let Hartford think they can get in it. Let's take a look at the TWA shot chart. First for Washington, Ben Gustafson picking up that goal in that slaughter, the first one, in a rather unusual scoring position for Lou Franceschetti, but once again, that line of Franceschetti, Gould, and Leach doing a terrific job. Let's take a look at the first goal, the one scored by Gartner, and the two key people, the three key people really, start with this man, Mike Gartner, and the great anticipation he has. Watch Ben Gustafson get in a position, but the mistake here by the Hartford defenseman. Now he will just blindly clear this pass around the boards, and watch the way Gartner makes that anticipatory move, knowing exactly what's going to happen. Now let's stop it right there. You see how Gartner has picked off that pass, and you see the progress Gustafson makes? He is all alone there and in perfect position. All he's got to do is just reach that stick out. Mike Gartner sends that perfect pass across ice, and Ben Gustafson just directs it in. Outstanding anticipation by Mike Gartner to pick off that pass, sends then a bullet right through the crease to where Ben Gustafson can handle it easily. Gustafson picking up his 5th of the year, the lone assist by Mike Gartner. That was followed up then by an outstanding play by Lou Franceschetti, and great anticipation by Stephen Leach. Now right here, Stephen Leach has the puck. Here is Lou Franceschetti, and here is Sylvain Cote. Notice where Cote is looking. It's this direction. He's not paying that much attention to Franceschetti, and you better right now, because not only is Lou scoring, but he still has that great speed. See the dump in by Stephen Leach. Now stop it right here. You see how the step Franceschetti has got on Cote. He's got the beat on the puck. He'll pick it up right here, swing around. Sidorkovich is anticipating that maybe he can get it, but Lou Franceschetti swings in and makes that outstanding wraparound goal. Sylvain Cote guilty a little bit of watching the puck and not really watching the man coming down the wing. And boy, does Lou Franceschetti make the Whalers pay with an outstanding individual effort after picking up that dump in by Stephen Leach, putting the Capitals ahead 2-0.
Hartford did have 9 shots on goal during that period, but I don't remember more than maybe a couple of them really even testing Clint Malarchuk. He was solid all the way.
And the Capitals did a great job of clearing those rebounds. Malarchuk playing that first shot. If there was a rebound, it was gobbled up quickly. We'll show you on the TWA shot chart where the Whalers were getting their shots from, and you can see a couple chances from some of their big guys. Turgeon and Francis down low, but for the most part, the Capitals kept everything above that face-off circle, meaning that those shots were coming in from high, giving Malarchuk a clear sight at it, making a save, or if there was a rebound, those Whalers were pretty well held off back there, and the defense were able to come up,
sweep it up. Capitals doing a great job of delaying the Whalers in almost every position on the ice, getting in there, using their stick, holding them up, creating some room offensively, and holding apart for preventing them from getting any offensive flow and any second chance right now in front of Flint Malarchuk.
All right, here we go with the second period, but first, here's Jeff Rimmer.
Thanks, Mike. You know, we kid David Poyle when he joined us in the first intermission. He's there, he answers the questions, but I want to tell you, and we're serious here now, general managers around the National Hockey League, general managers in other sports, marvel that Mr. Poyle subjects himself each and every game to answering your questions and your criticisms. Let's go back upstairs to Mike and Al.
All right, we're underway with the period. The puck cleared right in front of the Hartford goal, and Dineen starts out now for the Whalers to center ice. Drives it back inside the zone. Tip it to the corner. Stevens jams up. Sent right in front of the goal, and Larry Murphy moves it out to Ridley. Now up ahead to Kelly Miller. Gets across the line, flips it up for Christian. Back into the corner to the point for Stevens. A slap shot kicked out of there by Sidorkiewicz. This is Ray Ferraro for Hartford. To Dineen. His drive blocked by Stevens. Dineen grabs the rebound. Now backhands it wide through the goal mouth. And Ferraro and Malarchuk get tangled up in front of the net. Now Murphy clears it out of the zone and back to center ice. Quenneville to chase it into his own end. Scott Kleinendorf off the stick of Scott Young, and Stevens sends it back inside the zone. Here's Mike Gartner in Whaler territory. Bumped off his skates. The Whalers' Ron Francis wheels out. He's hit by Ivan Korovo. Now Young on the right wing. Taken over by Kevin Hatcher. Hatcher ahead for Gartner. Gartner to Gustafson. Gets across the line. Throws it in front. And there's Gartner lunging ahead with his stick and deflecting it toward the net, but it just goes wide of the goal.
I certainly think Mike Gartner has answered a lot of questions about how strong is his knee. He seems to be moving at top speed on almost every circumstance. Ben Gustafson is just swinging this puck in front. Gartner coming down and has to leave his skates. I think he loses balance for just a second. Still gets a little wood on it. But Mike Gartner certainly has been flying, really skating, really getting up and filling those holes. And we showed you that outstanding pass he made in the first period to set up Ben Gustafson on the Capitals' opening goal.
Well, a change now. They've taken Scott Stevens' name off the assist column on the goal by Francis Getty. And instead, it'll be Bob Gould assisting on Francis Getty's goal. So Francis Getty from Leach and Gould. Here's Evison. Back into the corner. Rod Langway behind the net. Off the glass and all the way down the ice. Courtnall giving chase, and he gets there first. He centers it, just missing John Druce. Hunter is tied up by Ed Kastelik, and Peterson starts back to Kastelik across the line. And behind the net. Lead pass for Courtnall. Courtnall across the blue line. Hatcher pops it over the glass and into the seats. There's a break in the action with the score. The Capitals 2, the Whalers nothing.
Do you need carburetors, sockets, overs, car wax, and spark plugs?
Uh-oh. Sounds like trouble.
How bad is it, Schneider?
Well, let's take a look. Oh, we're talking big bucks. Fortunately for you, there's me and Track Auto.
What's wrong?
Well, your friend's area stabilizer collapsed and it's rubbing against your flat.
Low prices. If you need a warranty. If you need it, Track's got it.
May have a battery.
But what about my friend's stabilizer?
It's in there.
Track Auto.
Tonight from the Capitol Center, I'm Al Koken along with Mike Bournes and Jeff Rimmer, bringing you Washington Capitals hockey live and exclusively here on HTS. 17:26 left to go in this second period. Caps on top 2-0.
Inside the Whalers zone, here's Kelly Miller. Back to Dave Christian. Christian throws it rink wide, and that also goes into the crowd for a souvenir. And Randy Moog is in goal tonight for Boston at Detroit against Glenn Hanlon in that Red Wing Bruin game. Toronto and Winnipeg later on. Detroit's Paul McLean has scored his 11th of the year. Adam Graves his 4th of the season for the Red Wings. Ken Lindsman his 6th of the season for Boston, giving the Red Wings that 2-1 lead. Right here it's goals by Gustafson and Franciscetti. The Capitals lead the Whalers 2-0. Malarchuk spins it off the boards, and Tippett now throws it back to the corner. Ferraro to chase the puck. Off the backboard, Scott Stevens picks it up and starts ahead of the blue line. Now he stick handles to center ice. Ulf Samuelsson back to center. Tipped free by Larry Murphy. Ferraro back into the Washington zone. Scott Stevens up the boards for Kelly Miller. 16:25 to play here in the second period. Grant Jennings charges in, gives to Dineen, back to Jennings, and banks it off his stick wide of the Washington goal. Out comes Dave Christian. On the attack is Christian charging past Ron Francis, who spins him around. Now Jennings. Out to center ice, Franciscetti. Bumped by Dineen. Throws it into the Whalers zone. Ron Francis bumped by Lou Franciscetti. The puck comes back to Kleinendorf. Now Gord Brassiker is shoved into the Whalers bench as Jennings was lined up, and the Whalers were eager to get him back on the ice. Pushed him right back over the board. Here's Scott Young driving it back into the Washington zone. Malarchuk lets it go, and as Hatcher touches it, the play is called icing against Hartford.
Tell you, Lou Franciscetti is certainly developing into just a great story for the Washington Capitals. Well, it's tough to win on the road unless you have a Cellular One car phone. A Cellular One car phone will make you more productive and keep you ahead of the competition. In Washington, call 220-2000, and in Baltimore, call 1-800-CELL-1. Not too many guys would have come to training camp knowing that the numbers were against them. Did not give a lot of time, ice time, to Lou Franciscetti because the Capitals understandably wanted to see what their younger players could do. Went down to Baltimore and now has come back to play a major role. Picks up the goal, done a great job of forechecking, and as always, provides some of the consistently bone-rattling hits that the Washington Capitals forwards throw. This man is always involved in the action, and it's just a tribute to his character. He didn't get down and just went down and used the experience of Baltimore to his advantage.
Here's Leach at the side of the goal. A shot. He got it behind Sidorkowicz, and it still walked wide. Now Sidorkowicz behind the net. Back to the point. Ledyard sends it on goal. Now Quenneville to the corner. He's tied up by Bob Gould. Franciscetti in there. Works it free to Steve Leach. Leach back to Gould. At the point, Ledyard a drive, just missing wide of the Whaler net. Now Gould into the corner. Franciscetti at the side of the goal. He's knocked to the ice. He and Turgeon collide. Now Leach holds off Kleinendorst in the corner. And Scott Young starts out for Hartford. Up to Turgeon. Long slap shot caught by Malarchuk. Hatcher behind the goal. Here's Mike Gartner. Taken away by Brent Peterson. Checked by Hatcher. Cleared to the point. Ladouceur keeps it in. And now Hatcher steals and starts back. Kevin Hatcher to center. Across the blue line. A wrist shot right on goal. And Sidorkowicz makes the save. That's Washington's 17th shot on goal in this game. And their 4th in this period. The Whalers have just 1 shot on goal here in the second period. Brent Peterson ties up at the blue line. Gustafson tries to keep it inside the zone and does. Ed Castellan leads it out to center. Langway up for Corriveau. Pushed off the puck, and it's cleared by Edison all the way back into the Washington end. Langway spins it ahead for Gustafson. He's got Corriveau on the left wing. Gets across the blue line. Corriveau makes his move to the net. Fires, and a pad save by Sidorkowicz. Now Evison starts out. Evison moves it ahead to center. Neil Sheehy back at his own line. Over to Scott Stevens. Long drive into the corner. Lattiser clears it ahead for Tippett. And out comes Dineen to center ice. Dineen is wide open on right wing. He fires! Malarchuk with a good stick save. Now on the backhand. A pass in front. Samuelson's shot goes over the goal. And Hunter clears it out to the blue line, and it goes into the crowd. The faceoff will be in Washington ice with 13 minutes and 2 seconds left in the second period, and Malarchuk sparkling in the Washington net.
Malarchuk stopping a good try from the stick of Ulf Samuelsson. A little before that, the Capitals with a big chance. Now, I thought it couldn't get any worse for Stephen Leach when he hit a goal post in an empty net. Here it may have. He's got this shot behind Sidorkiewicz. He thinks he scores. He puts the stick up, but he sees it just go behind him and out the other side, grazing that goalpost as it came out. Thought he had him beat from that angle, and that puck disappears behind the goaltender's shoulder. You think you've got it in. Can't imagine any more difficult luck Stephen Leach could endure without getting a goal.
Here's Miller over on the right wing. Stephen Leach scored his first NHL goal against the Hartford Whalers a couple of seasons ago at the Hartford Civic Center. Here's Tippett up on right wing now to Dineen. Dumps it inside the Washington zone. Larry Murphy off the glass. Hits the linesman Gord Brossiker, but Ridley recovers, brings it ahead for Miller. Ferraro takes over for the Whalers. Can't get it out of the zone. Christian keeps it in. Ridley's in front. There's a shot. And a save by Sidorkiewicz. Now Stevens back into the corner. Dineen starts out on the right wing. Up ahead to Samuelsson. Ships across the line. Ferraro in the corner to Dineen. Out front. A shot. Tippett right on goal, and Malarchuk gets a piece of that with his skate blade. It's cleared back into Whaler ice. Quenneville off the stick of Dineen. For Ron Francis, the play is offside. And the faceoff comes back into the Whaler zone with 11:45 to go here in the second period. Now here's Jeff Rimmer.
Thanks, Mike. Two other games on our National Hockey League scoreboard here on Home Team Sports. Both games now underway. Red Wings leading by 2 in the second period over the Bruins. Winnipeg out in front of the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Bullets, they trail by 6 against the Celtics in the third quarter. And the Celtics and Bullets go right back at it tomorrow night. You'll see it right here in person at the Cap Center. If you can't join us in person, we'll have it for you on Home Team Sports. And, of course, our next HDS hockey telecast next Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving, the Islanders in town. Let's go back upstairs. Capitals almost took advantage of another Whaler clearing pass. It was picked off. David Christian keeping in the zone, sends a shot on goal, trying to get it in there to where Mike Ridley could try and do something with it. It's right on Sidorkiewicz, and he kicks it out past Ridley. But again, a 2-on-1 develops as the Whalers kind of carelessly clear the puck up the boards, and the Capitals turn it right back around on him and get a nice scoring opportunity.
Here's Quenneville starting from his own zone out to Ron Francis. Now he leads it ahead, and Scott Young shoots it back inside the Washington zone. Courtnall puts the stick on Cote, but he's in the corner and bumps Ledyard off his skates. Now here comes Hunter to center ice for Washington. Gets across the line. Tied up by Cote. Ron Francis back to center. Hunter charges to the line. It's played to the red line, and here's Hatcher to shoot it back inside the Whaler zone. Scott Kleinendorf off the glass to the point. Kept in by Hatcher. Now Francis gets across into Washington territory. He fires. Malarchuk with an arm save. And back comes Courtnall, looking for John Druce out of center ice. Cote takes over inside the Whaler zone. Works to center. Into the skates of Francis. Picked off by Bob Gould. Left wing side. Too far for Courtnall. All the way back into the Whaler end. And here's Lattiser to touch it. And icing is the call against Washington. Capitals have that Adams division connection put together tonight with Courtnall out there along with Dale Hunter. And on an earlier shift, we saw not only those two out there playing, but also Neil Sheehy back on defense. They certainly should be well aware of what the Whalers' strengths and weaknesses are.
Ronnie Francis coming in. He's got a 2-on-1, but decides to shoot the puck instead of pass. As Ledyard pretty much playing for that, giving Malarchuk a chance to see it. And again, out far, challenging the shooter, not letting anything get by him is Clint Malarchuk.
Here's Gustafson. Taken back into the corner by Evason, and Langway right there to tie up. Has a pretty firm grip on the Whalers' Brent Peterson, who's struggling to get free. And the puck is cleared all the way down the ice. As long as Peterson's been in the league, he should know by now that he's not going to get away from Rod Langway. Here comes Peterson starting back, but behind the play, Steve Leach has become involved in a fight, and Leach is on top, where Brossiker jumps in and is holding on to Leach. But not many punches thrown in this one, as Leach just ends up right on top of the pile and holds his opponent to the ice. We'll see if it's called fighting or if it's just roughing, but Leach has got something to say now to referee Bob Myers. And the man getting up from the bottom of the pile is Dean Evason.
Now there are 4 great places to go cheer the Caps on to the Stanley Cup. Here at the Capitol Center and at all 3 Joe Theismann's restaurant locations. They're in Vienna, Bailey's Crossroads, and Old Town Alexandria. What could be better than enjoying fine American food in a relaxing, friendly atmosphere and watching the Capitals play? Joe Theismann's restaurant, where good friends meet great food.
21, Steve Leach, 2 minutes for high sticking and 2 minutes for roughing. Time of the penalty is 9:54.
Well, apparently Bob Myers thought it was a little one-sided on Leach's behalf. He gets high sticking and roughing, while Evason gets just elbowing at 9:54 of the second period.
See the play develop. Evason coming up on Leach. And try and play this out a little farther. Dean Evason with the elbow on Steve Leach. He does respond then. I don't know if Leach's stick is in his hands at that point, but certainly gets up there very quickly. And is the man who gets the advantage physically on top of Dean Evason, but will pay the extra time.
Ivan Corvo will serve the additional penalty on Leach's behalf. So Hartford gets a crack at the power play here. Their first opportunity of the night. They're ranked 18th in the league at 17%, while the Capitals are 17th in penalty killing at 77%. Here's the situation that we talked about with the 2 clubs having special teams that aren't performing very well in the Whaler power play and the Capitals penalty killing.
So keep an eye on that left point. Scott Young, the rookie, mans it. Good hard shot.
Here's Young walking over to center point. Now throws it behind Turgeon. Ferraro goes to the corner. Puts it behind the net. Alt Samuelsson bumped by Kelly Miller. Turgeon has the puck. Outside the line it goes, and Young has to chase it, but he throws it back in, and it's offside.
There's a case where Sylvain Turgeon makes a wrong decision. He's getting a little bit of pressure, but instead of throwing it to Young, I think he had the opportunity to dump it back down in the corner and let the Whaler forwards who were down there go after it. But instead he tried to make a fancier play to Young, who was not in good position to receive it, and also rather precariously perched right there at that blue line.
A minute 18 still left on the Leach penalty that's being served by Corvo. Here's Neil Sheehy. He's on with Gustafson, Gartner, and Stevens. Clears it back to the Whaler line. Young with Samuelsson on the Hartford defense. Tippett is up front with Ron Francis and Kerry Wilson. Samuelsson shot blocked. Wilson fires from a bad angle. Malarchuk gets a piece of that with his elbow as the puck sails over and wide of the net. Now Francis to the corner. Back to the point for Young. Young winds, fires, and a stick save made by Malarchuk. Gustafson out to center. Sheehy throws a hit. Again tries to line up Tippett. Back to the point is Young. He goes over to Samuelsson. Takes the shot, passes, and Tippett fires wide of the Washington goal. 25 seconds left in the Whaler power play. And the puck is cleared back out to neutral ice. Francis to Young to Samuelson. Back into the Capital zone. Here's Stevens to the corner. And again, it's cleared all the way down. Corvo's ready to jump back on the ice after serving the Leach penalty. The Whalers are offside. And only 1 second. Well, now the penalty has expired. So out of the box comes Ivan Corvo. Washington has successfully killed off this first Whaler power play opportunity. You know, it's interesting to note that while these teams play in different divisions, we'll see the scoring chance here.
Shot by Samuelson coming in. Malarchuk making that first save, scrambling around to prevent Kerry Wilson from doing anything else with that rebound.
From the draw, the puck cleared back to Ledyard on defense. He brings it over to Kevin Hatcher. Now out to Hunter. Lead pass for Kortnall. Had a stick under his skates as Kastelik was holding him. A bouncing shot by Ledyard is now on goal. Sidorkiewicz kicks it aside. Hunter to Drews. Ed Kastelik. Knocked free. Kortnall takes over. Back to Drews in the corner. John Drews hooked behind the goal and spun around off his skates as he hit the side of the net. Nothing was called. The puck comes back to center. The Whalers dump it in. Now the Hartford goal is dislodged, and the Whalers didn't want to admit that at the time, and it was hidden by Sidorkiewicz, but he waits until the puck leaves his zone and then alerts the officials to it. There's a break in the action. The Capitals lead 2-0.
I get paid to fly on TWA. I'm part of the new quality control team. I report directly to the chairman on what's good and what needs improving. When he's happy, you're happy.
Today's TWA. Find out how good we really are. After all those meetings in Minneapolis and conventions in Kansas City, we think you could use a little change of pace. And after 40,000 miles in TWA's frequent flyer program, that's just what you get. Today's TWA. Find out how good we really are.
7:21 left to go in this second period. The Caps still maintaining their 2-0 lead over the Hartford Whalers.
Here comes Scott Stevens to center ice. At the blue line, it's taken away by Quenneville and steered to center. Now Stevens tries to avoid Dineen. Dineen takes the puck away, starts back in. Fires off Stevens' skate to the corner. Ray Ferraro. Rink wide into the corner, and Larry Murphy out to Dave Christian. Turned around by Kelly Miller right to Ridley. And the Whalers get out of that jam. Here comes Dineen starting back. He's in across the line. Murphy takes it away. Starts ahead on the right wing. Here's Christian across the blue line. Now Kleinendorf sends it off the boards for Dineen on the right wing. Into Washington ice. Drop pass Ferraro. A slap shot. Boy! Malarchuk is knocked over. Pulled over on the play. And the Capitals are very upset about that. Rod Langway, the first man to jump in on the pile. Just as Malarchuk made the save, he was bowled over like a bowling pin. I mean, he was run hard.
Now we'll see if Ferraro has an opportunity to get out of the way. The drive coming in, Malarchuk out. And not Ferraro, Dineen, excuse me. Certainly looked like he had an opportunity to sidestep him, and I don't think Kevin Dineen really cared one way or the other.
Well, it looked like Dineen had room behind him, Al. If anything, he could have gone right behind the goaltender, between the goaltender and the net. He couldn't cut in front because of Langway being there.
Ferraro with the drive, but Dineen not caring a bit, trying to shake things up.
Washington.
Now Langway does put a bit of the stick on him, and we'll see if that, in the minds of Bob Myers, pretty much allows Kevin Dineen full reign. Langway does the right thing. You never touch a goaltender, particularly that flagrantly. But Kevin Dineen trying to shake things up for the Hartford Whalers. In the minds of Larry Plow, also doing the right thing. Try and get in there and see if he can get to Clint Malarchuk. Shake him up. Shake that puck loose. See if he can get in there to change the tempo of this game a bit for the Whalers' advantage this time.
Malarchuk appears to be all right. They call it Dineen for interference, and then Langway for cross-checking at 13:44 of the second period.
Well, I don't think, if Langway hadn't touched him, I don't think Kevin Dineen was going to get a penalty. I didn't see Bob Meyer's arm go up when that collision came. It was only after Rod Langway did the correct thing and jumped in there to protect his goaltender that Bob Myers called something on Dineen.
Here's Samuelson back to chase it into his own end. No power play as each side has been penalized, and both squads with 5 skaters out there plus the goaltender. Here's Ron Francis charging to the net. He's tied up by Corriveau, and a wrist shot by Turgeon is right on, and now Hatcher makes darn sure that Turgeon gets nowhere near the Washington goaltender. Well, we'll see if this sets a pace now, because Bob Myers really did not do anything more than just call that minor against Dineen and also assess Langway with a penalty. We'll see if the Capitals are more anxious than normal to protect their goaltender and don't take some additional steps aside from what you normally would do, just standing up in front of the goaltender, turning around, facing your opponent, and just keeping him away. We'll see if the Capitals don't really start to lay the stick on some people right in front of that net. Now here's Jeff Rimmer.
Thanks, Mike. Well, the Red Wings are opening it up against the Boston Bruins tonight. They're now up by 4 in the second period at the Joe Louis Arena. Toronto still trailing the Winnipeg Jets by 1 at the first period score in Winnipeg. Bullets have come from behind. They're now tied in the third quarter of the Garden in Boston. Don't forget those same 2 teams again, minus Larry Bird, who's gone for at least 3 months. Go right back at it here tomorrow night at the Capitol Center. The Islanders in town next Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving, and the Capitals hope they've got a lot to be thankful for. Let's go back upstairs.
All right, Jeff. Surprising to me, Bob Myers did not make any call after that on Corriveau or Ron Francis, who looked like they were having a pretty good go of it along the boards. But I think your point is well taken, Mike. The Capitals to make sure, because it was clear that Bob Myers wasn't going to call anything on Dineen initially, so they feel now that they've really got to make sure that Hartford doesn't think this is the way back in the hockey game by running their goaltender.
The puck sent back inside the Whalers zone. All Samuelson to pick it up. He starts out to Young, now to Francis. Gets across the blue line, tries to deke his way past Hatcher, and Bob Gould steals and starts back. Out of the zone, Francis Getty in to throw a hit now. He ties up with Grant Jennings. Jennings shoots the puck in behind the Washington net. Scott Young back as Malarchuk moves it along. At the point, Jennings keeps it in play. Puck centered, but Ledyard's right there for Washington. He tries to start out. Now Evason throws it in front of the Capitals goal. Malarchuk makes the stop and has the stick out there, just in case Brent Peterson has any ideas. And this is exactly what we were talking about before. Now Malarchuk has to be more concerned about protecting himself, because it's obvious that if the defensemen do that, they're going to get penalized. Peterson got a little rap with the goal stick and took some exception to it, talking to the Washington goaltender, Clint Malarchuk.
Guarantee you, Lou Franciscetti's never had this type of point pace. He loves it.
He's getting about as many points per game now as he was in the American League, and if he can equal that, he's really going to turn into a scorer. John Druce bumped as he crosses the line by Cote. Now here's Druce in behind the net, taken away. Sylvain Cote out to Evason, clears to the blue line. Hunter keeps it into Courtnall. And back comes Dean Evason. Inside the Capital zone. Sheehy over to Stevens. Up to Courtnall on the left wing. Out to center ice for Hunter. Dale Hunter shoots it back inside the Whaler zone. Now Randy Ladouceur. Out to Evason. Brings it ahead to McDermott. He's bumped by Stevens. Dale Hunter. Boards it ahead looking for Courtnall, but it's taken away by Kleinendorf. Out to Kerry Wilson. Here's Jody Hall across the line. Back to Tippett to Hall on the corner. Pinned by Scott Stevens. Hunter tries to pry it free from Wilson in the corner. A tie up in behind the net. And now cleared over to Kerry Wilson. Wilson tries to center. Stevens is there to grab it. He feeds Courtnall. Courtnall out to center ice. Gets it across the line to Christian. Charging to the net. A shot and a save and a penalty call coming against the Whalers as Hartford touches the puck. It's 2 minutes for holding. The time of the call, 16:22 of the second period. And this will be against the Hartford Whalers. Joel Quenneville is headed to the penalty box for the second time in this game for holding.
Almost an exact duplicate of Quenneville's first period penalty where he tackled the Washington Capital. David Christian is the man who gets the step on him. Does the exact same thing. Reaches out, gets both arms around Christian, and then ends up literally tackling him to the ice by pulling his legs out from under him.
Well, Quenneville knows that if Christian is able to get the rest of that step, he's on his forehand and he's going to have an excellent scoring opportunity. And Quenneville knows the only chance you've got in that situation is just to grab the guy, so that's what he does.
Capitals less than half the time on their power play in the offensive zone, and rather poor production in terms of just 3 shots for a power play that is 4th in the league right now. But of course, that road penalty killing of the Hartford Whalers, statistically the best in the NHL right now, killing over 91% of those penalties.
Larry Murphy back into his own zone. Stick handles to head to center ice. Drives it into Whaler territory. Mike Gartner over to Larry Murphy. Now back to Gartner. And Gustafson tries to move away. Samuelson takes away Gartner's stick. And Gartner tries to pull his stick away, does so, and then slashes at Samuelson. Gartner is being penalized for slashing. Time of the call, 16:57. Mike was frustrated trying to get that stick away, but he went a little too far when he came back with that extra slash, and Bob Myers saw it.
Well, Bob Myers so far has been allowing both sides to really hold on to sticks, hold on to bodies. He's not making the call unless it's flagrant, like the ones we've seen with Quenneville, the obvious tackles with scoring position. But once Mike Horns mentioned, had that extra bit of frustration come in, he gave the little extra movement with the stick, got the attention of Myers for the penalty call of slashing. And now we've got 4-on-4 hockey for the next 1 minute and 25 seconds at the time remaining to Joel Quenneville.
Even strength hockey here with 3 minutes to go in the second period. Scott Stevens moves it out to Ridley. Cote to the red line. Shoots it back into the Washington zone. Ladouceur shoots it in. Francis goes to the corner. Stevens gets a stick on it, but Ron Francis comes to the point. Here's Ladouceur winding. He fires, and off a deflection, it goes into the net. It looked like Cote was the guy who touched that one. And Hartford is on the board, spoiling the shutout bid of Clint Malarchuk. It's 2-1.
Well, Ladouceur had plenty of time as all the Capitals are down deep. I wonder if Scott Stevens here may have kind of upset the vision of Clint Malarchuk, although it looks like Clint saw it all the way as it was coming in above the body of Scott Stevens, but Cote makes a nice play. When Stevens goes down, though, that also gives Cote room to sneak in behind him, and he's able to get that stick there.
He knocked that puck down. It was probably about waist high. He directed that right down, and it bounced past Malarchuk in the net. Not a thing that Malarchuk could do on that. 17:36, the time of the goal. It goes to Cote, his first of the season. Ladouceur, the assist. And Ron Francis. So it's a 2-1 game. 2:10 to go here in the second period. Dave Tippett. Wrist shot off Langway's skate to the corner. He and Evason collide behind the net. Up the boards, and Ladouceur keeps it in. Bengt Gustafson, hand pass to Langway as Gustafson had his stick knocked out of his hands. Play is called, and now Hatcher comes in and takes a shot at Evason. Ladouceur has something to say about that, so does Tippett. But the Whalers with a pretty small contingent of skaters out on the ice right now. They're not the bigger players on this team. And Bob Myers is going to call penalties, sending Kevin Hatcher to the box, and I think Evison will go in as well.
Those two stay with each other and stay with each other. Now exchange words, a little angry, and Kevin Hatcher makes that first move. Give Dean Evison credit. He didn't back down from a guy who's got 5 or 6 inches at least in height advantage and a number of pounds as well. Roughing the call to each of them.
Time of the penalties, 18-10. So we've got 12 seconds left on Quenneville's penalty. 47 seconds left on the call to Gartner. And then 2 minutes up there to both Hatcher and Evison, and that will take us into the third period. There'll be 10 seconds left on those two calls when we start playing period 3. So as a result, they're going to take Evison and Hatcher both back to the dressing rooms rather than risk further involvement at the end of the period. Hartford has caught up a bit on the shot clock. They now have 18 for the game. Washington has 20 for the game. 5 Whaler shots this period. Washington with 11. Ulf Samuelsson. Behind his own net, chased by Bob Gould. Leads it out to center. Quenneville's out of the box, and the Whalers now on the power play for 30 seconds. Here's Ferraro. Back at the point. Miller works at 3. Sends it back to center. Turgeon drives it into the Washington zone. Ferraro to the point. Samuelsson a drive. Pad save by Malarchuk. Rebound. Owen Ferraro is stopped by Rod Langway, who sprawls to make the block.
Rod Langway in a much better position to go down and block the shot than I think Scott Stevens was on the shot by Ladouceur. He's a lot closer to Ferraro. Now he also sees what happens. Malarchuk makes that initial save, but as the puck comes bouncing out, Turgeon makes an excellent pass over to Ferraro, but Langway, sensing it, makes the move out to Ferraro to cut down the distance between them. Going down then, Ferraro has little room to get it up and over Langway.
Stevens directs it into the corner. Here's Ferraro back to take it. Now Samuelsson throws a hit. The puck comes to center ice, and Ferraro is back for it. Miller trips him up. Kelly Miller charging in. He fires off a skate. Scott Young blocking that shot, and Ferraro starts back as we're in the final minute of play in the period. Out at center ice. Ulf Samuelsson to Sylvain Turgeon. Bob Gould charges back to the Whaler line, and Ladouceur leaves it right at the line. Gould then shoots it into the corner. Capitals changing on the fly with 35 seconds to go in the second period. Samuelsson dumps it back into Washington ice. Ledyard out to center. Penalties over to Gartner, and the Capitals and Whalers are at full strength with 20 seconds to go in the period. Ron Francis, the Whaler captain, I understand turning into quite a financial manager up in Hartford. I guess he owns a car dealership and part of a couple of restaurants. I can remember when he was an 18-year-old kid who came to town and really was not sure which way to drive to get to the rink. But he's come a long way, and a very fine young man. Scott Stevens out to Dale Hunter, works to center. And back inside the Washington zone. Ron Francis from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Back to get the puck now at the Whaler line as time runs out in the period. Shots on goal in period number 2. For Hartford, 10, a 2-period total of 19. And for Washington, 7, a 2-period total of 20. Hartford gets the only goal, Sylvain Cote's first of the season, to make it 2-1 Capitals after 40 minutes of play. More hockey coverage coming up after this on the Home Team Sports Television Network.